What's going on, everybody? Oh, we got a good one today. I am behind because I was on the Side Scrollers podcast. Shout out to Side Scrollers, 1 year. But I am just getting caught up on all of this. So I've seen a few of the clips going around on social media, but we are about to listen in, and you guys are going to have to catch me up on a lot of what has happened because you guys have been tagging me like crazy. Let's listen to what Fat Fani Willis has to say right now. This is glorious. All right, looks like we're currently waiting for them to resume the disqualification hearing of Fat Fani Willis. This has been glorious. The little bit I've seen from it, it's so good. And again, those that preach the loudest have the most to hide. This ugly fat bitch is getting roasted and exposed for the piece of crap that she is. We're going to catch up on everything, but we're also going to react to this live. So I apologize for being late, but like I said, I had, prior commitments that I had to, be on. So now here we are catching up on all this. God, that's an ugly, ugly woman. Like, that is an ugly woman. Absolutely hideous. Ugh. Ugh. You know, I think we have some comments about her really quick. So while we're waiting, here's some comments about Fani Willis really quickly. Let me find it. Let's see here. If I can find it. It's from our good buddy Alex Jones.
Disgusting. Disgusting.
Thanks, Alex. Appreciate that, buddy. I don't think she's officially disqualified at this point in time. I don't think she's officially disqualified now. This is the hearing to disqualify her. This is the disqualification hearing, but I don't think she's gone. I don't think there's any official decision been made.
Yeah. Steph, you go.
Thank you.
We're back on the record. Before we proceed, though, I'll advise everyone here, this being a room mostly full of lawyers who have spent their lives in a courtroom. We all know what professionalism looks like, what decorum looks like, and devoting ourselves to the rule of law and proper advocacy. I would urge everyone to keep those principles in mind, starting with the fact that we won't talk over each other. And from there, we'll get through this. Ms. Merchant.
Thank you, Judge. How often did Mr. Wade visit you at a place where you were living between 2019 and 2021?
So you want to start with the lie that he lived with me in South Fulton in 2019, a home he's never been to? That's one lie you told in your document. No.
Judge, I didn't ask her about that.
Ms. Merchant, I want you to ask a very precise question. I think she's saying and answering that he did not live with her. So why don't we break that up into smaller parts?
I didn't ask about living.
But you put in your, while we're talking about professionalism, she put in 3 different documents he lived with me.
Full opportunity to respond.
And filed that with the court.
In 2019.
He's never been to South Fulton. In 2019, I lived in South Fulton. He has never been to my residence in 2019, ever, not once.
In 2019, he's never been to your residence, any place.
I lived in my home in South Fulton before I started getting the threats that were here, a house I paid for with my own sweat and tears. I'm no longer able to live there. But in 2019, I did. And in the 2 months of 2019 that I knew Mr. Wade, 3 months, the beginning of October, all of November, and all of December, Mr. Wade never came to my house in South Fulton. Let me help you out. I lived there in 2020. He never came to my house in 2020, let alone live with me, as you put falsely in these documents. In the first 3 months of 2021, when I could still enjoy my home, Mr. Wade never came to South Fulton, and it is certainly a lie that he lived with me.
So in 2020, so you said 2019, 2020, did Mr. Wade ever visit you at a place that you
He
resided?
has never been to my home in South Fulton. 2020 was before I knew that a phone call was going to be made and I was going to have to abandon my home. As a result thereof, he never visited, lived at, came to, or has seen South Fulton.
You qualified that with your home in South Fulton.
That's where I lived in 2020.
In 20, did he ever visit you at a place that you resided?
Okay, I don't understand you about to that. In 2020, I lived in South Fulton.
Okay.
That's the only place I lived in South Fulton. That's before I had to abandon my home, Judge.
All right.
And at my home in
We're
South
gonna clarify
Fulton,
this. We'll break it there.
he never came there, okay? So if you don't come someplace, you can't live there.
Ms. Willis, I'm gonna have to caution you. This is gonna be my first time out to caution you. We have to listen to the questions as asked. And if this happens again and again, I'm gonna have no choice but to strike your testimony. So we need to break this down. Ms. Merchant's question, I believe, was asking whether you lived anywhere other
There's
than
not enough
South
super
Fulton.
chats in the world.
I did not live anywhere but South Fulton, Georgia in 2020. That is before I began my prosecution of this case, and it was my plan to only live there.
Did Mr. Wade ever visit you at the condo that you leased from Miss Yurdi?
He visited that condo, yes.
He did.
Yes.
Did he ever spend the night at that condo?
No.
Just visited.
Yeah, but he did visit for sure.
Did you ever go out to eat together, other than the lunches you talked about, during
2020.
2019 or 2020?
I would think that we probably went to lunch, but it wouldn't have been, let me think, 2019. I'm going to say, I don't know. I'm going to say,
She didn't do nothing. She did do nothing, y'all.
but it seems like we would have broke bread sometime in 2019. So I'm going to say yes, although I have no recollection. But it seems to me like I go out to eat and drink with pretty much everyone. So I'm going to say yes.
So outside of the vacations that we've already talked about, did you ever go out to dinner?
I mentioned to you that
I'm going to object as to what time period. Like we're asking very vague questions. I thought we were treating the witness as hostile on the 6/11. We're no longer doing that. So we're going to go back and forth. We need to be more specific with our questions if we're going to treat her as hostile.
All right, Ms. Merchant, it's not so much. I think you can elect between.
Is it just me or is the sound bad on this feed? Is it all feeds that the sound is like this? Let me know, chat, because I can switch feeds.
On track of focusing on the financial benefit or the relationship.
And my next question about if you did go out to dinner, who paid when you went out to dinner?
He paid, I paid.
You both paid.
Okay, so let me be real clear. We didn't say, oh, the bill is $102. You give $51, I'll give $51. I don't operate like that with my girlfriends. I don't operate like that with anyone. He caught the bill, I caught the bill. Whomever.
Did you ever pay him through Cash App?
No.
You only ever paid him through cash?
Well, yes. We're talking about, I'm very confused.
You've
now.
never
Like,
given Mr. Wade money through Cash App.
No,
The only money you've ever given him outside of a contract is cash.
I didn't give him money in a contract, so that was cute. But I didn't give him money outside in a contract. What happened is, no, we're going to answer it since you said it. He worked more hours than he was paid, and the county paid him for the work that he did. So don't be cute with me and then think that you're not going to get an answer.
And I will ask you about the contract in a minute. I asked you about cash. Did you ever pay him anything? And I'm trying to qualify my questions. I'm not talking about the contract with Fulton County that was paid. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about outside of that. Did you ever pay him anything other than cash?
I've only given him cash a few times in the course of what we're talking about.
So you've
If
never
we
used
would
your
go to
credit card?
dinner,
Let her finish her answer.
if we would go to dinner, I wouldn't give him cash because he paid for dinner or I paid for dinner. I've given him cash only a few times in life, probably 4.
Okay.
Probably the most money I've ever handed him is $2,500. The least amount of money I've handed him, probably between $500 and $1,000.
You never wrote him a check?
Ma'am, I don't have checks.
So you have no proof of any reimbursement for any of these things because it was all cash, right?
The testimony of one witness is enough to prove a fact.
So my
Are you
question was,
telling
do
me
you
that
have
I'm
any
lying to you? Is
proof?
that what you're intimating right here?
I'm asking if you have any proof that you paid him any of these
The proof
monies.
is what I just told you.
You have no written proof. Is that correct?
So I have some, probably some transactions like in Belize. I probably spent $500 on my card in Belize. I spent $900 on each of our tickets to go to Belize. I did the $700. I probably got some minor expenses in Aruba that would be on a card. But for the most part, for those trips, other than, so the 2 cruises, I gave him money for those before we ever left. Because they were pre-booked. Let me answer.
Well, the question was if you had any written proof. And so
So I've answered you that I've had written
then we can
proof.
move to the next question. If you've answered if you had any written proof, and that was my question.
I want to make sure that we're clear that for the 2 cruises.
Judge,
and that's
I
the
asked if
cruise
she gave
plus
him written
Aruba.
proof.
We're not going to talk over each other. Ms. Merchant, she answered your question, so you can ask the next question. Ms. Willis and Ms. Cross will have plenty of opportunities to let you clarify your answers when it's her turn.
Thank you, Judge. Knowing your role as district attorney, you know that public funds are scrutinized and money is scrutinized and things like that. You
And I've
understand,
never, I'm sorry, go ahead.
you understand you're under a microscope. You have reporting requirements, all of those types of things. You have no record, other than your testimony, of the money that you've given Mr. Wade.
You've already asked that question. Let's keep going.
When you took office, you had a tax lien of $4,600. Did you pay that with cash when you made that tax lien whole?
I probably paid through, however you pay.
Okay, so, but you were saying that you had amounts of cash. You still had that lien in 2022 when you were dating Wade and going on these trips. So the cash that you gave him, that could have been used to pay this tax lien off?
You gonna tell me how to pay my
I'm gonna
bills?
object. This is not relevant as it relates to why we're here today.
Ms. Merchant, are you trying to establish that she was insolvent in some way?
I definitely was trying to establish that she did not have these mass amounts of cash that she's talking about, yes.
All right. Re-ask the question.
You had a tax lien in 2022, $4,600.
Did you say I did?
And you did not use this cash that you had to reimburse Mr. Wade to pay that off, correct?
No.
Okay.
I went shopping too when I didn't pay it off.
And you talked about, you gave a lot of interviews to some authors of a book called Fani, right?
I would not characterize it as a lot. I probably have spoken to them.
You're not gonna
2 or 3
object.
times.
My question is relevant as to.
I think it's already come up. Finances are discussed in the book. I'll overrule that.
Thank you.
Ms. Wilson, you can continue your answer.
What came up with Mr. Wade as it relates to hearsay statements that he was asked about in relation to what Ms. Willis may or may not have said in relation to an author. So it's not relevant to the testimony that's occurring at this time.
I think Ms. Merchant has said that inside the book, she also makes a statement as to her own finances, and that's at issue.
So you gave interviews to the authors of this book, correct?
Once or twice.
Okay. And
3 times, just to be comprehensive. I don't know if it was 3 times, 2 or 3 times, I think.
you were quoted in the book, and I will give you a chance to say if this is a misquote. You were quoted, when they asked you about if you wanted to run for office for DA, you were quoted, "I really don't want to be financially effed up again." Do you remember saying that?
So what that refers to, so that.
My question first is if you remember saying that.
I remember saying something similar to that, but I would like to be able to explain what that's
That's
in
fine.
reference to. That's not in reference to anything else. It was a huge sacrifice to be district attorney in Fulton County, huge. I was doing just fine. I had a municipal court judgeship that was paying me $100-something thousand a year, and like you got to show up twice a week. Easiest thing I've ever done in life. I also had private clients that were paying me to represent them. So I was able to have a law practice and that. Raising 2 daughters by myself, there were times in life where things were hard. And so I was telling people, I don't really run for DA. I don't want to run for DA. I'm in a good position right now. I got this easy job that I enjoy, being the chief judge of the city of South Fulton. I'm making money at the law firm, and I'm not sure that I want to make this sacrifice. And why does it always have to be me? Eventually, I prayed. I think that I was the appropriate person. I think that I did that. So when you're referring to that, what I'm saying is, why should I make a sacrifice again? And what I was not talking about is being district attorney. Once you get elected district attorney, you're in a fine financial position. I make over $200,000 a year. What I was talking about is I ran for judge. When I ran for judge, I took $50,000 of my personal money out of my retirement. And that money ended up being lost. And I know when you bet on yourself, you're going to have to bet money on yourself. And so what I was talking about was not wanting to go through the personal financial expense of running for office. By no means did I think that I was going to be financially in a bad position once I won. Let's talk about what I was up against, because it's important to understand that comment. I had a district attorney who had been here for 24 years. People, no, it's very relevant as to what my mindset was about this. So I'm trying to answer your question. So what I was saying is
Taylor solely to finance.
Right, but it is about my finances. If I didn't, nobody put me in this seat. So I had already run for office once. I had spent $50,000 of my own money running, and it was vamoose, nothing. And so when I'm talking to those offers, I'm talking about the contemplation of the sacrifice of the run, not the sacrifice of once you become DA. The odds were against me. I was likely going to lose the election based on who I was running against. So that needs to be in the appropriate context.
Isn't it true that the authors also wrote, and you can dispute this if you'd like, that you were broke after that race?
The 2018 race.
Yes.
Yeah, that was a hard race. I wasn't broke like I didn't have any. So broke is relative to depending where you are, but that hurt to lose that $50,000. So I'm sure my mental mindset was like, I just gave $50,000 away.
Right. So they characterized it from their conversations with you that you were broke, you had poured your own money into the campaign, and you weren't able to pay your own bills because of your clients couldn't pay their bills to you, and you had a paltry array of family and asset forfeiture cases. It says you were trying to make it month to month. Is that an accurate depiction of your financial situation at that point?
I would want to read that, but I don't remember clients not being able to pay their bills. Or
May I approach this?
you can't.
You may.
Page 30.
I have not read this book.
Hurry up, Fani.
So like this back here, her ex-husband Fred had run into a financial. I have no information
I
about
didn't
that.
ask you about that. I just asked about if what they represent from their interviews with you, that you were broke and that you had clients that weren't able to pay their bills.
Can you show me where that is? Because this is where you put the tab, so that's where I read.
Broke, couldn't pay their bills.
Yeah, I'm sure I characterized myself as broke as leaving that $50,000. I don't know that I had her nascent law practice at paltry array.
Well, you just
I didn't have.
Ms. Merchant.
I thought I had a law practice. So this is not correct. I'm
Okay.
sure it's just, I didn't have any asset forfeiture cases. So I had one case where they had took one of my clients' money at the airport. I don't know if that's what I don't know. Paltry rate. I did have family law cases. I guess that's what they're talking about. And clients who couldn't pay their bills ain't clients. So no.
So my question was just if this was a fair and accurate representation where it says you were trying to make it month to month at that point.
No, I don't think that is actually a fair and accurate representation, but I am certain that after the 2018 election, I'm still not really happy about having given up that $50,000.
You know when you paid your tax lien?
I don't.
You don't? You know if you paid it?
I know I've paid some taxes. I don't know. I don't want to speculate.
Did you tell anyone at Fulton County Board of County Commissioners about your relationship with Mr. Wade?
No.
Did you disclose your relationship to anybody at Fulton County?
No, I don't think so.
And as the chief law enforcement officer of Fulton County, I assume that you're familiar with the county code and ordinances?
I've said we're not going to cover that in this hearing, Ms. Merchant.
I'm sorry, Judge?
We said we weren't going to cover the county regulations.
Okay, and I won't. Let me ask you this then. So are you aware that you're required to disclose any relationship with someone that you contract with in Fulton County?
I'm gonna object to the court prior ruling that you made this morning.
Would this be different because it's a potential for impeachment?
Yes.
What did you ask me?
Ms. Merchant, if you agree, ask the question.
Okay. Are you
Ladies, is that true? Look what Gremlin said. Is that true?
aware of someone that you're doing business with?
I'm not aware, and I know often that things are confused with state constitutional officers in county, but I'm not aware.
Okay. So it's not so it's your understanding that you don't have a duty to disclose the
She's
relationship?
answered that question. Let's keep going.
Did you keep track of this cash that you paid him at all?
What are you talking? I don't understand.
Did you keep track? Did you keep a ledger? Did you keep track of it?
So I've only given him cash, as I mentioned, 3 or 4 times. There's no ledger. This is friends handing money off to each other.
So the answer is no, you didn't keep
And I think
track.
you've already asked whether there was any written proof whatsoever, and she's
Yes.
answered that.
Okay.
So we've covered this. Let's move on.
Who were you referring to when you suggested that Mr. Roman's motion to disqualify was racially motivated?
We already said we're not talking about the forensic misconduct that's been alleged.
And
And just so the record is clear, I don't believe I said that his motion was racially motivated, so I don't want that to stay there. I've never said his motion was racially motivated, so that should not be
Melissa,
true.
I think
She
it would
wrote
be
that.
best if we don't need to go down that road. We're going to save that for argument.
you once said that you would not engage with a personal relationship with anyone that worked for Fulton County. Is that correct?
An employee?
Anyone that worked for Fulton County.
I think I said an employee.
So that's the qualification you give an employee. You would
I think that's the statement that I made, so if you want to quote me accurately.
So it's your position because Mr. Wade was not an employee, or it's your position he wasn't an employee, correct?
Mr. Wade is not an employee, and he will tell you that over and over again.
She's so mad.
I'm sorry, the statement, just so I make sure I accurately quote you. What you said was you won't sleep with people who work under you. Do you not consider Mr. Wade working under you?
I consider Mr. Wade to be an agent.
Oh, he was under her, all right. He was under her, all
An
right.
appointee is what I really think of him as.
Your point, whatever merit it has, Ms. Merchant, is on the record. Next question. All right. Do we need any moments in a minute? Mr. Sadow.
Hey,
Yeah, I'm ready
listen.
to go, Your Honor.
All right.
She didn't do nothing, y'all. She didn't do nothing. Okay. Let's listen to him now. Here we go.
I'm going to try to ask you questions that you can actually answer without having to explain, okay?
Yes, sir. My comprehension skills are pretty good, so we should do all right.
Oh, she's so
We shall
fucking
soon see.
arrogant.
If I heard you correctly, you moved into what I will refer to as the Yurti condo in either March or April of 2021. Is that correct?
Sometime between late February and April. Yes, I don't, just so we're clear. Yes, but in that time period, you're in the ballpark. We're in the ballpark.
And is that Yurti condo, would you say that it is in Hapeville?
It is in Hapeville. Yes, sir.
And you moved in there for safety reasons?
My father, yes, I moved in there. We were concerned. My father was terribly concerned about me continuing to live at the house. And so that we're clear, people came to my house at 5:00 in the morning about the police brutality cases, saying I was going to have a wake-up call. There were security threats due to gang cases, and there were concerns due to that was at the very beginning of this, looking into that. And so for all of those reasons and what was happening, my father wanted me out the house, and begrudgingly I left.
Okay, so the answer to the question was a yes for safety reasons, correct?
Those were all of the things that caused the safety concerns. I'm
I'm
sorry.
not questioning whether they are or are not safety concerns. I just asked that you moved into this condo, the RT condo,
Right.
for safety reasons, right?
Yes,
At the time that you moved into the condo, be it from February to April of 2021,
yes,
was your father still living in your house?
right, because my father,
That's
yeah,
all I ask you.
but I get to explain the answer, sir.
I don't know if there's an explanation. If I ask you, was your father still living at your house? The answer is either he was or he wasn't.
Yes, but you are going to get to argue at the end of this, as we both
I'm
know.
not gonna argue
And so
anything.
I
I'm
would
gonna
like to
ask-
be able to
Let's
explain why.
I'm
go.
gonna-
So, yes, because my father is an older gentleman, he was worried about COVID and he stayed.
Ms. Willis, I'm gonna have to say that's the second time. Whenever we have to put a pause, stop testifying, okay? You'll have a chance to explain yourself.
Oh, shut the
The
fuck
question was
up.
whether your father was not staying there at the time, and you're clarifying that in your answer as well. You can have a brief clarification, but it shouldn't be something that reaches well beyond the question. All right, Mr. Sadar, you can re-ask the question. We'll see where it takes us.
Okay, thank you. Was your father still living in your house at the time you moved to what I would refer to as a Yurti condo?
Yes, sir, he was due to his concerns related to COVID.
Okay. The safety concern was that there was potential danger at your house. Is that correct?
Yes, my address had been exposed, so yes, there was concerns about potential danger at my house.
Okay, so anyone staying at your house in the time period after you went to the Yurti condo was still in danger, correct?
Yeah, well, no, he did.
I think you have to, it's your attorney, Ms. Willis. Sorry, Mr. Bott, your objection is speculation
Yes.
to the question of
Speculation.
whether someone was still in danger at her condo,
Just let her answer the question.
or Mr. Sadon wants to rephrase.
No, yeah,
I'm not
I
sure.
was able to
I've got
understand it.
I've got the objection, and then I have,
I'll withdraw the objection. You can move forward.
Okay,
So, and I don't remember the question, so I can answer it.
but you can now that the objection's been withdrawn. Can you try to answer that question? Was
Yes,
there still a safety concern
I was.
for people staying at the house?
Yes, I was very concerned about my father still living at the house. However, if you have dealt with an older gentleman, he was not leaving the house despite my urging him that I thought he should leave as well. He did not want to leave the house because he was particularly worried at his age about COVID. But that became I don't want to say I was not happy with that decision of my father's, but I can't ultimately make him leave, and he stayed there too long, in my opinion.
Okay, thank you. During that period that you left to go to the Yurti condo, did any of your children stay at your house?
So I don't think that they were there at that point. Certainly my baby wasn't there.
I'm talking about this entire period. We're talking about, if I remember correctly, and you'll correct me, I'm sure, you said that you stayed there at what I would call the Yurti condo until January of 2022, correct?
Yes,
Okay, so I'm asking you in that period, which would be February to April of 2021 until January of 22, did any of your children stay at your house?
and you don't have to yell at me. I'm able to understand. So I would ask you to not yell at me. That being said, I don't actually expressly remember, but I can tell you, since I have left my home, there have been times my oldest daughter came in, but I can't tell you with certainty the time window that you said, if they did or not. So I don't want to speculate to that, but there was some time that my oldest daughter came back. Whether it was that period or after I left the Yurti residence, I'm not sure, okay?
Okay, so if I continue to go into more detail on this, you're not going to be able to give me an answer of whether or not, in fact, any of your children were still at the house or stayed at your house during that time period, correct?
What I can give you clarity of, so that we are clear, is from the time I moved out in February-ish of 2021, after I left there was a time period that my oldest daughter came back. But if you're asking me, was it in that window or after, I just don't have a recollection of that, because, you know, your kids come and they go. And so I don't remember the specific time period, and I apologize for that.
Did your children ever stay with you at the Yurti condo?
Like maybe a night,
Okay.
like for a girls' night or something, but live with, no.
Okay. Did anyone else stay with you at the Yurti condo,
That was
including Miss Yurti?
never. Miss Yurti never lived in the condo. She met her husband and they moved. They weren't quite married, but they moved. Nobody ever lived with me in the condo. That was
My word was stayed, not lived. Stayed with you at the condo.
I guess I don't understand the distinction, but no one ever, I think my oldest child, I think she spent one night with me, maybe my oldest and my youngest. But I think that whole time I was in that place, other than that one night, I don't think anyone ever, this was a very lonely period in my life. I don't think anyone ever spent the night other than maybe one night. I remember a picture of my baby sitting on the couch in that place.
This is
And I'm thinking she
amazing.
spent that night. But just a very lonely time in life.
Okay. We'll stay with the lonely theme just for a minute. Did Nathan Wade visit you at the Yurti condo from the time you moved in until he was hired on November the 1st of 2021?
So I moved out of that condo, but during that time period, I'm sure he came to visit. He came to visit. I can remember us going, I think the restaurant's Lickety Split. I can remember him picking me up, going to Lickety Split and ordering some food, and coming and sitting at my table and eating. So I remember times that he visited me at that condo, yeah.
Okay, could you give us an approximation of how many times Mr. Wade visited you at the condo between the time you moved in and prior to November 1 of 2020?
I don't think often, but I don't want to speculate.
Can we say more than 5, more than 10?
I'm gonna tell you the problem I'm having here. Let's say more than 10, but I'm not sure that that's even accurate. He certainly has come and picked me up, gone and grabbed some food to eat. I don't remember him being in that condo a lot.
Okay, that's your.
I'm sorry. You want a number, and what I don't want
You're
to
giving me your current and best recollection is all I'm asking for.
That's all I can give you, sir.
How many times did any of the prosecution team, how many times did Anna Cross come to that condo between the time you moved in and November 1st of 2021?
I don't think Anna's ever been to that condo.
What about any other prosecutor that's involved in the prosecution of this case?
I don't think any of them have.
Just Mr. Wade.
That's correct, sir.
But it was a lonely time.
Oh my God, that 2021, I have a lot of guilt about this time period in my life. Let me tell you why. But yes, it was a lonely time.
Okay.
I was very appreciative to the citizens for giving me this responsibility and this duty. But what I very, very quickly learned is that this is a very isolating job, and 2021 was a lonely time. I turned 50 in 2021. That's probably one of the worst birthdays I've ever had. I spent it alone. So I have a clear recollection of 2021 being lonely.
Okay. Did Mr. Wade ever come visit you at the condo, the time period I'm talking about, prior to November of 2021, when Ms. Yurti was at the condo?
So Miss Yurti and me, we didn't share the condo at the same time,
So the answer would be no.
but we never stayed there together. So it's an
Oh, I'm saying-
impossibility.
It's an impossibility.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, Miss Yurti, because we need to get clarification on this. Miss Yurti stayed in that place. There may have been a time that me and Mr. Wade visited, like went and saw Miss Yurti, but me and Miss Yurti never lived there together. Just so we're clear.
Well, maybe that was clear, but I'm going to have to try again.
Okay.
Was Ms. Yurti still living in the condo when you moved in?
Not a day.
Okay. So what I'm
That was
talking,
another misrepresentation in this. We never lived together. I never lived with Miss Yurti.
my question though, I'm trying to understand
Okay.
that after you moved in to the condo, Ms. Yurti she was out of the condo, right?
She got a house.
That's all I'm asking. She's not in the condo.
We never stay, Miss Yurti and I never stay a day together in the condo. All of her stuff was out of the condo, and all my stuff, some of my stuff, not all of it obviously, was moved into the condo. So we never stayed there together. No, sir.
All right. So when I asked you about Mr. Wade visiting the condo,
Yes,
when you were staying there,
yes,
Ms. Yurty wasn't staying there, correct?
that would be correct. Yes.
She wouldn't be at the condo, correct?
No, she would not have been.
It would be you and Mr. Wade alone at the condo, correct?
Yes,
That is, there weren't any other witnesses to Mr. Wade and you at the condo, correct?
yes.
No security, none of your security
I'm
detail.
gonna object. She said it was just her and Mr. Wade.
You made your point, Mr. Sadow. Let's move on to the next one.
Mr. Armour. Who in the prosecution team prior to, I guess, the motion being filed by defendant Roman, who in the prosecution team knew of your personal relationship, and now I'm talking romantic, with Mr. Wade?
So, sir, I am extremely private.
All I asked
No,
you
no,
is
no,
who
no.
knew. It's not, if the answer is no one knew, that's fine.
No.
I ask you who knew.
This is
Answer-
the greatest
answer it
thing
in
I've
English
ever
as well.
seen.
I am very private. When I supervised Mr. Body and Mr. McAfee, they didn't know who I was dating, but I can assure you I was dating somebody. So that I kept something private, that's my private life, is not any mystery to anyone. It's like a woman doesn't have the right to keep her private life private.
Oh, fuck
And I'm speaking on
off.
this because there have been all these intimations.
You still haven't answered the question, Ms. Willis.
I'm sorry, what was the question, Your Honor?
Is there anyone else who knew about it? And then you can explain.
I don't know. I don't think so. I certainly didn't go out telling my business to the world.
Okay, so, the best of your recollection, you didn't inform anyone on the prosecution team that the individual that you had chosen to lead the prosecution team had a personal relationship with you.
So
Is that correct?
That's inaccurate. Your question is inaccurate.
What?
Because you stated that the person I chose, we had a personal relationship. So we had a friendship. We have all these distinguishing factors. Remember, when I chose him in November of 21, first of all, let's get this straight. Mr. Wade was not actually my first choice. That's no insult to him. No, it is you, because of the way you phrased the question. You said, when I chose him, I didn't inform people of a personal relationship. We have defined personal as romantic. It is an inaccurate way to state the question.
And I will
And-
certainly restate it so it is very accurate.
Okay, and please do not yell at me.
You hired Mr. Wade for the first time on November 1st of 2021, correct?
November of 2021, yes,
Okay.
sir.
Your testimony is, whether one accepts it or not, your testimony is that at the time you hired Mr. Wade, there had never been a romantic relationship with Mr. Wade before you hired him, correct?
Yes, my testimony is that we were very good friends, but we're talking about a sex, so let's just don't,
No, I'm not talking about, I'm saying romantic relationship doesn't necessarily have to be just sex.
Well,
It can
I
be
don't-
dating, it can be holding hands, it can be any of those things that one might call romantic. I'm asking you whether or not prior to November 1st of 2021, there was a romantic relationship with Mr. Wade. It's very simple. It's either a yes or a no.
I don't consider my relationship with him to be romantic before that. I'm not a hand holder, so no.
Did she say I'm not a
That's
hoe? Did she say I'm not a
Now,
hoe? It's
Move
not like she
beyond
said I'm not
November
a hoe.
1st of 2020,
Yeah.
2021, excuse me. If I understand your testimony, there was no romantic relationship with Mr. Wade until early in 2022, whether it be January or February or March, early in 2022, correct?
I would say sometime between February and April. Yes, sir.
All right. Now I'm asking you about that time period when it became romantic,
Yes,
okay?
thank you.
You didn't see the need, if I understand, to tell any of the people on the prosecution team when you had established a romantic relationship with Mr. Wade, that the lead prosecutor, that is the man that was basically giving orders to others, was dating or having a romantic relationship with you, correct?
I'm gonna object to relevance at this point, Your Honor.
Mr.
Not
Sadow, relevance?
Just to prove or attempting to show that there is an issue on the credibility about the relationship. The failure to have informed anyone on her team that she was having a romantic relationship with the lead prosecutor, I suggest gives rise to that inference. That's the relevance.
The inference that that they were concealing this because it was not as it's been characterized to the court, and that in fact it started earlier than what they say. all right, overall, Mr. Sadon.
I just want to make sure that we're clear. From at least 2020, me and Mr. Wade were friends, at least that time period.
Okay, I'm not talking
Okay,
about.
so no, I want to be clear because my credibility is being evaluated here, right? We were friends. We hung out prior to November of 2021. In November of 2021, I hired him. I do not consider our relationship to have become romantic until early of 2022. Because I don't know a date and time, I'm saying sometime between February and April of 2022, and very early April of 2022, because I know that trip that I discussed with you was like the first week of 2022, that the relationship had become romantic. I hope that answered your question, but I can't have it where, we're saying something differently.
All right, so you've established the timeline as you put it. The question originally was, at that time, did you tell any other prosecutors?
I never tell people at work who I'm dating.
All right, Mr. Sadon.
Okay. Did you take any trips to DC with Mr. Wade?
Never.
Did you take, okay, so you have no, what I would call personal trips or business trips to DC with Mr. Wade?
I never went to DC with Mr. Wade, personal, business, otherwise, never.
Okay, so,
I've never been in the District of Columbia with Mr. Wade, or Maryland, Virginia, the DMV as they call it.
so as I understand it, just to be clear, any trips that you would have taken to see DC
That
would not,
was a pretty clear answer.
huh?
That was a pretty clear answer.
Asked me
She just said no.
twice.
So you have a variation or something new to bring up.
I'll ask it and we'll see. Did you take trips to DC that were non-business during the time period that this case or this matter was under investigation?
I'm going to object as to relevance as it relates to the matter that we're here before Your Honor.
Well, again, the question already asked is, did you take personal or business trips? She said
But that was with
personal
Mr.
or
Wade.
business.
That was with Mr. Wade. This I asked her alone whether she took.
Okay.
What's the
And
relevance?
what would be the relevance of that?
Trying to understand whether or not we have the ability to show a personal trip in which Mr. Wade is there at the same time. I understand her answer. Okay, I understand her answer, but we have documents, we have records that
Your Honor, I'm going to object to the documents, the things.
Well, this could be something that's maybe not part of the record yet, but if he has I think there have been other things discussed in this case, and they have evidence that Mr. Wade may have been in DC at the same time. If you want to ask about that exact specific date, Mr. Sadon, you can do that.
I would reference to the court that was not asked of Mr. Wade, anything about any trips to DC.
Sure. And so that's going to limit its merit and impact on credibility. So Mr. Sadon, ask the question.
So
I understand your testimony is you never took a trip to DC with Mr. Wade,
that's correct.
personal or business.
That's correct.
Were you ever in DC at the same time as Mr. Wade?
I was not.
On personal or business?
No, me and Mr. Wade have not been to DC at the same time. However, since Mr. Wade has been on this case, he's been to DC. Since Mr. Wade has been on to this case, I've been to DC. What has not happened is we have not been in the District of Columbia at the same time. Now, the only thing I'm not sure about with what you asked me is if I've been to DC personally, because I've had a lot of personal friends in that area. But I know that I have been to DC. I did an interview at Howard University. I went to DC for that. Seems like I've been to DC one other time. Oh, I went to DC for the Global Summit. Actually, yeah, those were two separate trips.
My next question is based on her opening the door, and therefore I'll just ask it and Your Honor can decide whether or not it's appropriate. When you went to DC, did you go to the White House?
Object.
I did not go to the White House.
No. Well,
Apparently I'm going to get the answer anyhow.
there you have it. Next question.
Okay. You indicated
The hell was that
your
all
best
about?
recollection was that your relationship with Mr. Wade the romantic relationship, ended, you left it in August of 2023. That sound right?
That's the hard conversation. That's not the,
We've covered this. Next question.
And you characterize it as a tough conversation, correct?
yes,
I'm not going to get into the conversation per
we
se.
should.
Well, if he doesn't want to, we won't go there. So, Mr. Sadov, next question.
You know, it's kind of hard to say no when you've got that opportunity. But all I'm going to say is, was it pre-indictment in this case?
So,
We know the timeline that the indictment was delivered.
but,
actually,
and so that
I'll
we're
give you
clear,
that.
the
Okay.
physical relationship ended pre-indictment.
And is that when you were talking about the tough conversation?
But I'm not sure that the tough conversation didn't happen until after, but the physical relationship, so I'm sure if you ask Mr. Wade, because he's a male, he would say we ended June or July, because physical contact ended then. Just in my mind, being a woman, it's over when you have that like hard conversation. I just think women and men think differently.
And I think the answer, Mr. Sadov, to your question was
Did you-
she's not sure whether it was before or after.
Did you say men and women are different? Uh-oh, you about to get canceled.
That is what I said. That's what I said.
I'll let you. Next question, Mr. Sadov. If you need to
Want to say
clarify.
one more? The romantic relationship ended before the indictment was returned, yes or no?
To a man, yes.
Well, to a man, yes. To you, no?
She's explained this, Mr. Sadov. She's explained this.
And did the forthcoming indictment have anything to do with that? Or was it just a coincidence?
Mr. Let's go on and have the conversation.
Let's
I'm
go.
just asking you whether or not it was a coincidence.
Had
or-
absolutely nothing to do with this. It's interesting that we're here about this money. Mr. Wade is used to women that, as he told me one time, the only thing a woman can do for him is make him a sandwich. We would have brutal arguments about the fact that I am your equal. I don't need anything from a man. A man is not a plan. A man is a companion. And so there was tension always in our relationship, which is why I would give him his money back. I don't need anybody to foot my bills. The only man who's ever foot my bills completely is my daddy.
Is there anything else you would like to add to that?
No,
Sure.
I'm sure we'll talk about it further.
No, we're not going to talk about it further.
All right, no back and forth, Mr. Sadov. Next question.
My next question is something that has to do with what I've characterized as the church speech. Let me just tell you what the question is, because I know that's not something.
Preserve it for the record.
Huh?
You can preserve the question for the record, but then we'll move on.
That's correct. Thank you. When you gave what I've referred to as the Martin Luther King weekend church speech, you know what I'm referring to?
A great honor of mine. That's a historic African-American church. Yes, I do.
Okay. Did you have handwritten notes with you that you were reading from during the speech?
And on second thought, Mr. Sadov, because you might have a number of questions about this, why don't we just bullet point what you would want to cover on this, preserve for the record, and then we'll move on to the next topic.
Okay.
Since I had laid out before that the forensic misconduct isn't a
So
subject
do
of the
I
evidentiary.
not get an answer for that?
That's right.
Did you read your speech?
Well, no, Mr. Sadov, for everything related to any forensic.
Oh, you just want me to stay out of it now?
We're just not, we can do it in a bullet form if you just want to cover what you would have asked, but it's not in a question and answer format.
Okay, so I should do that at this point or do it
Sure.
when you're ready?
We can do it right now, so it's fresh on
I'm
your
going to ask her about, did she prepare the speech? Did she have notes on the speech? Did she read the speech? When did she do this? When did she write the speech? Who was she referring to when she was talking about others? Who was she referring to when she said they? Who she was referring to when she spoke in terms of their, that is.
I would love to answer those questions.
Well, Ms. Willis, you could certainly do that in some other format, but for today, that's what we decided we're not going to cover.
Who was she talking about that was playing the race card, and why she didn't tell people at the church that she had had a personal / romantic relationship with the, all due respect, the way it was characterized, the black man that she was referring to, and was the black man she referred referring to was that Mr. Wade.
Okay.
That's that area of inquiry.
Noted for the record, Mr. Sadow. Next topic.
Okay. I realize that you've testified that you have no records that with regard to cash payments,
Yes.
correct?
Mhm.
Would your bank records reflect that you withdrew cash from your bank accounts during the time period of 2020, 2021, 2022, or 2023? I'm not asking you, I'm just asking whether they would reflect that you withdrew cash from any of your bank accounts.
So the exact amounts?
Hello?
Just
Just
yeah,
that you did.
Of course, I withdrew money throughout that time period, throughout my life. I withdrawn money from the bank. Yes, of course.
Talking about cash from, that is, that you go to a
Cash,
bank
right.
or you go to an ATM
Cash.
and you take cash out.
Either that way, or you go to Publix and you overpay, or you go to another store and you overpay. So yes, both through that, yes, of course they would reflect that at times.
Okay, and so those records, if we had them, would show that, correct?
That throughout the course of my life, I took out money.
From, I was very
what he
specific.
said.
I
That's
said
Yes,
not
over
what
the
he
course of that
said.
time period, I would have taken money out, yes.
So do you have a problem with,
I absolutely, yes.
you don't want the bank records to be made available for the court and the court
I'm
alone?
going to object this to the relevance, and this has already been addressed earlier as it relates to other records. This is an improper line of questioning. He's doing it for the purpose of harassment, right?
I'm just going to sustain it on relevance. Mr. Sadow, if that's something you want to follow up privately, you can do that.
Last area, briefly.
Yes, sir.
You had contact with Mr. Wade in the year 2020, correct?
Ooh, I had some contact with Mr. Wade.
Would you explain when you say some contact? Please tell us, talking about 2020.
I had some contact with Mr. Wade in 2020. One of the reasons your allegations are so preposterous, or Miss Merchants that you have joined, is
Ma'am,
No, no,
I
no,
didn't
no.
ask you about the allegations. I asked you about your contact. That's all I ask you, okay? I appreciate that you want to say something, but I'm interested in, did you have contacts with Mr. Wade in 2020? And your answer so far has been yes, correct?
very limited contact because Mr. Wade had a form of cancer that makes your allegations somewhat ridiculous.
I do appreciate the
I'm not going to
characterization.
emasculate a black man, but I'm just telling you.
I'm sorry, what?
I'm not going to emasculate a black man. Did you understand that?
All
So I
right,
don't
let's
think
get
we should
back on
discuss
track.
further.
Mr. Sadow, next
Race
question.
card
Trying
has
to,
been
Your Honor.
activated.
Would you tell us on the occasions in 2020 that you had contact with Mr. Wade?
I'm sorry, I thought I had answered that. Yes, sir. There were times in 2020 I had contact, but 2020 was a year I was running for office. It was a year that he was going through some serious medical issues, and I did not have much contact, but I certainly had contact with him in 2020.
Did you
It
go
was-
out to eat with him?
Maybe, probably.
Did you visit him in any location, his office, or did he visit you in your office in 2020?
I am sure I'm sure, ooh, that's a very good question. I'm sure he came to 750 in 2020,
750 is,
was my office.
okay.
Not often, but maybe once or twice. Maybe I went to his office once or twice, but maybe once.
And the purpose for going to his office would have been what?
Maybe we would have went to Mellow Mushrooms for pizza, or
Mellow mushrooms.
maybe he would have come for lunch. I'm sure we went by each other's office though, but not often, not a lot. We both grinded, trying to make a
But
living.
wait, I understand what you've said about the cancer, and I'm not going into that. But when you were going out with him to restaurants, or when he would come to your office, right? Those were not sterile environments, were they?
Oh, very sterile, because it
The
was,
restaurants were sterile environments?
a lot of times we wouldn't eat there. We would pick up something and go in, but they were, you're
I'm listening to you. You pick up and take it to where?
maybe eat at our office, but it did not happen much. That's what I'm trying to explain to you. And my office in 2020, nobody was coming in. I was stir crazy, so I would still go into my office. You remember when I started this, I said, I am not even sure if we came to each other's offices, but I am trying to be over cautious. So I think I can recall him at 750 a couple of times. I just think I can recall him at 750 once, but let's say twice. I have seen his office. I remember all the awards in the lobby, but I'm not sure in 2020 I went. I'm not even sure I went in 2020 at all. I just want to tell you yes, because I'm not sure. But I have a distinct recollection of him at 750. I actually don't have a distinct recollection of me at his office in 2020, but maybe I went to his office in 2020, maybe.
Did you have ongoing phone conversations during 2020 with Mr. Wade?
Oh, yeah, I talked to, yes, absolutely. Yes,
Yes, no question about that.
no question. I talked to him on the phone in 2020.
I understood, and this is, maybe I was confused. The Belize trip was for
His 50th birthday.
his 50th birthday, and that was in
March. He turned 50 March 18th, 2023. If you look at the dates of the trip, I think we were there about 6 days. We stayed at 2 different locations.
and you paid for it.
100%. He said, not only, I paid for the hotel, I paid for the flights, I had a birthday luncheon for him, I paid for massages, I paid for everything.
And would those payments be reflected on your
I paid
credit
for
card?
the cash.
You paid them in cash?
Cabs. I was telling you all the different things.
I'm asking you whether or not those payments would be reflected on credit card bills of yours.
So there was about $500 that I think is reflected on a debit card. What my recollection is, I took about 4 in cash with me to that
400 or 4,000?
4,000. But I remember I handed him 2,500, and then the rest was just the money we spent. I probably gave $300 or $400 to this guy who was a taxi driver. He would drive us every day around the 2 or 3 days we went. Took him to eat like it was my trip money.
And you had, to be clear, to end this up, the 4,000 that you've just told us.
But I didn't give it all to him. Remember, I only gave the 2,500 to him.
I didn't ask you that. I was going to ask you that 4,000 is part of your, my words, cash hoard that you had collected over time.
Cash what?
Hoard, H-O-R-D-E.
Oh, I thought you said something different, sir.
No, I'm afraid I wouldn't say that under any circumstances.
Sounds like
to
you,
or in
sounds
my-
like
back on
you
track.
think
The hoard,
somebody
cash
might have
hoard
called
debt.
you that for a reason.
I would not classify it in that way, but I have money at my house. Yes, sir.
And the money, when you had money at your house,
I'm speaking too loosely. I had money wherever I was staying. So I was not referring to my house in 750. I'm saying I had money wherever I was laying my head. Yes, sir. That was my fault that I wasn't clear.
so when you were at what we said, the Yerti condo, during the time period we've always discussed, that's where you would keep your cash.
When I stayed there, yes.
Okay, that's all I have. Thank you.
All right, I want to see if we can get through a few more defense counsel possible before break.
Welcome, everyone. This is the greatest thing ever. You are seeing ghetto fabulous Fani Willis didn't do nothing, getting grilled right now.
And District Attorney, I'm Alan Stocks, and I don't think we've had the pleasure of meeting.
It's a pleasure to meet you, sir.
Madam DA, you described these various trips, and Mr. Sadow asked you about going to Washington. Did you and Mr. Wade go to New York?
I've gone to New York. I've gone to New York twice.
Joshua Henderson says, D-Day Cobra, try being a black man and dealing with this shit. I am black from the waist down, but that's another discussion for another
There,
time.
for sure. And I was honored, and I went to the Apollo there. Those are the only 2 trips that come to mind. I went. He was not with me.
You also said that he was a world traveler and had been on many of the continents.
I've been to 6.
Have you been on any of those continents with him, besides this one?
Where's Belize? What continent is it? I'm not being funny. I don't know.
Let's say, with the
I've been
exception of,
to Belize with him. I've been to the Bahamas with him. I've been with Aruba with him. Don't embarrass me. I'm not sure what continents those are on. Whatever continents those are, that's where I've been. I'm sure if I gave it some thought, I would tell you. But whatever continents those are, that I've been to those locations, sir.
But not Australia or any other continents.
I don't even want to go to Australia. I do know he took a trip in December to Australia. I have no idea, I don't know anything about that trip.
When Mr. Wade began working with your office,
Yes,
he had two other gentlemen that worked in his firm with him. Is that correct?
yes, Terrence Bradley worked for him and Chris Campbell worked not for him, they worked with each other.
Did you understand what their partnership arrangement was?
No,
Did he ever make you aware of how fees were divided or anything?
no,
Now, since you have been district attorney, the two gentlemen that worked with Mr. Wade and his firm, they also had contracts with your office. Is that correct?
I probably had, I don't,
We already, well, I don't know if we've covered this in Miss Willis, but I still don't know what the relevance would be of her testimony to this.
but I've had about 10 people. Oh, I'm sorry, do you want me to answer?
Let's
or
figure
not?
this out.
Judge, respectfully, I think based on Mr. Wade's testimony, he had an interest in those contracts.
Sure. And then, but how's that been imputed to Miss Willis?
I don't know whether or not she knew she was giving him that benefit. That's what I was trying to explore.
Okay. Well, maybe we can start with that question, and then if she doesn't know about it, then the ins and outs of all the contracts wouldn't be quite as relevant.
Just to lay a foundation for that, though,
Let's see where it
respectfully, I need
takes us.
to.
Go ahead.
The two gentlemen that were in Mr. Wade's office, did they have what I think's been referred to as a taint contract?
So let me be clear, and I may get the names wrong. When I first became DA, the office was not properly staffed. And so I'm surprised any lawyer would take it, but I did a contract for like $60 an hour to help us out with first appearance. That lasted a few months. Okay, so I can't remember if Bradley or Campbell had that. I'm sure we can have records and I can tell you which one, but I just can't remember now. I liked their experience. Bradley had been a probation officer and a defense attorney. Campbell had been a police officer and a defense attorney. There's a reason I'm telling you this. Then that contract, like I said, it didn't last long. It was just, I was aggressively hiring. As soon as I got where I felt like I had first appearance, enough lawyers for that, I let them go. Then we had what's called a filter contract, but it was not filter for this particular case. I do have a lawyer who does the filter for this election interference case. When we're talking about filter, the contract they had that neither one of them has any longer, I now have another lawyer that does that for me. It was only for police brutality cases. It's for what I call so when I first got to be the DA, I had, the whole unit was called anti-corruption. It dealt with both elections and police brutality cases. I actually took a trip to Houston and visited the district attorney in Houston. They divided their work up, and I thought the way she was doing it was better than me. And so I made a civil rights unit. And so they did what we would classify as civil rights cases. Those are specifically the police brutality cases. When I first took over, I was told Paul had not filtered 5 cases. That was a joke. It ended up being the 101 cases. They weren't filtered, which is why I hired 2 of them. Eventually, we got it down enough that it was 1 of them. And then now I still have 1 lawyer that does it, but now I've been able to cut those cases down to like 30.
Can you tell me and help me understand what the purpose of the filter is?
Yes, sir. So what a filter is police officers make statements in the line of duty, and you are not allowed as the prosecutor to know what those statements are if they're done in the furtherance of their employment. And in fact, if you know what those statements are, you're basically disqualified from the case. You can't have it anymore. So what our policy is, I think I pay them like a $50 flat fee. They pick the case up directly from the GBI because that's where those cases go to. And then what they are to do is to...
Can she just shut up and make us all a damn sandwich?
the body cam, which is important because sometimes they'll make a statement to their supervisor on body cam, in the police reports where they write things. If it would be easy if it was just some statement of the police officer, but what you find out is these statements are embedded in it. And so what your filter lawyer does is they go through it, they either redact it out electronically or they cross it out. And then once it is crossed out, then they provide it to my team, and then we're able to look at it. That was not being done appropriately when I became district attorney. I thought that it had only been, so Mr. Howard had some Chinese wall thing that I didn't think worked.
We're all going to die if I have to do this. I will let the world end. Sorry.
And so the 5 cases really turned into, I'm not going to say all 101, but a vast majority. That is the work that Mr. Bradley and Mr. Campbell did for me. They did a really good job. All of those cases that we originally came with, they're done. Those cases they're not just done for Mr. Bradley and Mr. Campbell. They're done through my office. But obviously life is not stagnant. There have been new police cases. I do have a lawyer that is doing that work now. That doesn't work for me. That's same kind of deal. I have another lawyer that does filtering for this case, completely separate.
So in the same private office, you had a filter contract, then you had somebody else handling first appearances and so forth, and then you had a special prosecutor. Is that correct?
I'm just not. Ultimately, the answer to your question is yes, but I'm not sure that they did it at the same time. The first appearance contract was either $60 or $90. I don't know really how I convinced them to be able to take that, but I think because it was for such a short amount of time. And then I think I paid my filter lawyers, which I still don't know how I get away with, about $150 an hour. And I want you to understand, the AG pays special prosecutors $1,000 an hour. So I'm a tough negotiator. Paul was paying people up to $375 an hour. I won't pay anyone more than $250 is my max. I have a lot of lawyers for what I have that work at $250, and I cap them every month. You can't go past a certain amount of hours.
Would you agree that if Mr. Wade and the 2 other gentlemen that were in his firm were splitting fees in equal thirds, would you agree that he would benefit from the tank contract and also from the other first appearance contract?
I would agree he would make money. Yeah, so to make money is a benefit.
Just a thought, guy.
Mr. Durham, if you're still with us on Zoom.
No questions, Your Honor.
Mr. McDougald.
I do have a couple, Your Honor, but it's a little awkward from back here. Do you want me to?
Yeah, why don't you go ahead and make your way up.
Good afternoon, Ms. Willis. How you doing?
I'm very well. How are you, Mr. McDougall? I think this is our first in-person meeting, correct?
Second.
Second? Well, I apologize for not remembering you more clear.
That's quite all right. I'm referring now to exhibit number 21,
Yes, sir.
which was your financial disclosure form for 2022.
Yes, sir.
And it has a question which requires you to disclose any gifts or favors from a single prohibited source in the aggregate amount of $100 or more. Do you see that?
I don't, but I believe you.
It would be on page 2 in the middle, paragraph number 3.
Yes.
And what is your understanding of a prohibited source for purposes of this form?
I believe there's some classification of somebody you like don't have a personal relationship with that gives you $100.
All right, if you look under there, it's subparagraph 2, Romanet 2. It defines it as someone that you know or should know is seeking to do or is doing business with the county, correct?
Yes, but yes.
That includes Mr. Wade as of the date you filled out this form, correct?
Yes, but he never gave me a gift of $100 or more. The only thing that I would say maybe went over that, but I don't think it ever did, is if we went to dinner and my meal was $100, but I don't think I've ever eaten $100 worth of food at a restaurant, because I would not pay him back if we went to lunch or went to dinner. But trips, I paid him back for. I never thought about the money until y'all brought it up. And I would be less than honest that says I was giving him the money back because I was the district attorney. I didn't take gifts from him for a lot of personal reasons. Anyway, I did not take gifts from him.
And so your reason for not disclosing any gifts from Mr. Wade on exhibit number 21 is that the aggregate amount on a net basis was less than $100 in the year 2022. Is that correct?
I did not accept a gift of him of more than $100 in 2022. The one exception to that, because I want us to be clear, is we probably went out to eat multiple times in the year. If you're considering eating a meal, because we went out multiple times, that probably went to the level of more than $100. But if we're doing tit for tat like that, I probably paid for as many meals as he paid for. And so I did not receive any gifts from him.
The question on the form,
I understand the
the
question.
aggregate in excess of $100, and your testimony is that you did not receive in the aggregate more than $100.
All right, Mr. McDougal, you can sit down now.
I don't believe she answered that question, Your Honor. She answered as to specific individual
Are you
gifts.
kidding me?
And you're not listening to my answer either. So we're done.
Wow.
Okay, Mr. Rice,
No further questions.
Mr. Gillen.
Wow.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
Dude.
A few questions here. You saw the book here, Find Me the Votes. That was shown to you, correct?
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, I would like to just tender this as an exhibit, number 22.
Is that your copy?
It is,
All right, what exhibit is that going to be?
22.
All right.
I'm making the
Is that,
evidentiary contribution here to this. Now,
well,
says
so
that you-
you're tendering it, is it with position of the state?
I'm gonna object to the relevance at this point as to, there's no relevance at this point.
Mr. Gillen, are you using this to confront her with prior statements?
yes, Your Honor. And statements that she made concerning her financial situation and laying the foundation for that, and that she gave these interviews to the authors. And so this would document that. I'm going to ask her, get this in the record, ask her questions about it.
Well, we could mark it for impeachment purposes. I'm a little wary of entering an entire 300-page book because I don't know exactly what every single line, if it would pass hearsay or relevance or et cetera, but I don't think it needs to be admitted as an actual evidence for the record for you to do what you need to do with it. So
Well, Your Honor, I understand. I just would,
it's marked as
again-
exhibit 22 and we'll move from there.
thank you, Your Honor. Now, you were asked a little bit about this book before, correct?
I think Mrs. Merchant
Ms. Merchant did.
asked me some questions, yes?
And you gave about 6 interviews to the authors of this book in the sit down?
No, sir.
You didn't? And
No.
Was it,
She answered how many interviews she gave in her opinion.
how many, in your opinion, do you believe you gave, and how long did they last?
2 to 3, maybe 20, 30 minutes.
So your testimony is at most, you think that you gave maybe an hour to an hour and a half's interview to the authors of this book?
Oh, you mean in total?
In total, yeah.
Maybe, yeah. Anywhere between, definitely not more than 2-ish hours.
Okay. But you also were telling, when they were, the title of the book, of course, is A Hard-Charging Georgia Prosecutor, a Rogue President, and the Plot to Steal American Election. You've
Objection, Your Honor.
seen
had-
The relevance.
Why is the title of the book relevant, sir?
And I had no,
I'm going to ask her whether or not that was the theme that they gave her when they talked with her.
Objection.
What the thing you gave her, what do you mean by that?
Well, because they were sat down and they told her why they were there to interview her.
And why does that matter?
Well, I think it matters because it shows, but they want her to give her version of what her life story. This is almost a life story of her. So that's why it's relevant. But if the court thinks it's not, then
No, it could be relevant to your issue of the forensic misconduct that has been alleged and maybe some of the motives at play when it comes to forensic misconduct. But I'm not seeing, again, what we're here for today was the relationship and or any financial elements of it.
correct. Well, I think it clearly relevant to the forensic misconduct, also relevant to personal interest in terms of the finances.
I didn't make 10 cents off that book.
Pardon me?
I didn't make 10 cents off that book.
Didn't ask whether you made any money.
Okay, I just,
Didn't ask whether you made any money.
Do you have any other statements that she hadn't already been confronted with by
Bro,
Ms. Merchant?
what
Well,
the fuck?
other than, I want to focus on when you were telling them about your financial straits and you were living kind of month to month, that is what your financial status was back in 2018 after your election.
Mr. Brown, we covered that at length. You're at the end of the line. I'm sorry about that, but we've got to find new ground.
Well, and let me move on to my point here. So the point is that what you're telling us is that you were in financial straits, but really that your testimony today is you had a cash hoard of maybe up to $10,000 in cash where you laid your head at night so that you would dip out and there would be no record of it, correct?
that's not what I'm telling you, sir.
Well,
That's not at all what I'm telling you. What I'm telling you is that throughout the course of my life, I have always kept cash in my house. That cash has ranged from times, my father would probably be ashamed of this because he would say it should be more. But that cash at times has ranged from $500 to maybe $9,000. And he would be like, that is not what I told you to do. I've always had that amount of money. What I've told you is that when I travel, you do better negotiating when you travel. If you have cash, you go to get the cab. They say, oh, we're going to charge you $300 for the day. Well, I got American cash. Will you take it for $150? And so it's my practice to take money when I travel. We're not talking about a whole lot of money. We're going to the Bahamas. $1,500 in cash is in my pocket, or at the most $2,500. Belize was actually probably the most money I've ever taken. And it was taken because it was a big deal. My 50th birthday sucked. His 50th birthday, it sucked. It was terrible. No.
Your Honor,
And
I'd
so
like to get back to some questions
What does
here.
that have to
I'm
do with
trying to
anything?
answer
Rather than
I think it
narrative.
would help if we.
So
Good question.
let's move to the specific yes or no's here. Have you told us today that you would keep a cash hoard in your residence up to about $9,000? Yes or no?
and throughout the course of my adult life. And so let's even be more specific than that. Probably from the time.
Your Honor, I'm only asking for yes or no rather than.
But we have already covered this, so I
But yeah,
need to
but
get to
I'm
that
trying
point.
to- I'm
I know
trying
you're
to
laying the
move through it
foundation, but it's already been laid. So
Yes.
The filibuster is here. I'm trying to move through the filibuster.
Yeah, but we're not talking about a lot of, and so it could be 2,000, it could be 1,500, it could be 7,500. It just depends on what you're doing at that time. What I'm telling you is when I traveled, I took cash. I find that when you travel, especially to foreign countries, the American dollar does well, and it's good to have cash. You can negotiate with the taxi driver, with the jet skis, and it's not a lot of money we're talking about.
Your Honor.
Okay,
we
understood,
need
Ms.
to-
Willis.
we need
Let's
to
get
cut
to-
off the.
let's get to a question, Mr. Gill.
And so you have cash in your house, but you had a lien, a tax lien on your property, is that right?
I don't believe I had a tax lien on my
You
property.
didn't have a tax lien on your property?
You gotta talk about it,
Actually,
Mr.
this is cumulative, Your
Okay,
Honor.
we already covered that, Mr. Gillen? I need new ground here.
I'm asking the question, I'm trying to figure out how someone can have a tax
Then
lien,
ask that question.
but not
Bro,
use the money that they allegedly said they have.
Well, I think Ms. Merchant asked that exact same question. She said she didn't use the money to pay her tax. So what's your question? It's new.
So I'm just gonna build on that to say,
No more bills. It's already built.
all right,
It's the same way you pay a bill.
So just put
It's
the
a-
top on it if you need to,
It's
okay?
the same way you owe a bill and go shopping.
well, now, have you ever used, did you say earlier that you used Cash App?
When I would pay Robin Bryant, I used Cash App.
What is Cash App for the record?
I don't need to know that for the record. Let's keep going.
Well, so if you're paying Robin with Cash App, why aren't you allegedly paying Mr.?
There's no alleged here.
Why aren't you paying allegedly Mr. Wade with Cash App?
I don't think Mr. Wade does Cash App.
Did you ask him?
I think he's told me he doesn't do Cash App.
Okay, so that's the reason why you didn't use Cash App,
He's sitting next to me. I hand him the money.
because there would be a record in Cash App of your making payments, correct?
Yes,
Sure.
but I didn't think that I was making a record in a personal relationship.
Because when you're filing your, and I know that I'm going to move into this financial statement here. You were asked just a second ago about your non-disclosure form, or your disclosure form of an Exhibit 21, where we agree that Mr. Wade is a prohibited source, correct?
What I agree to is, I don't believe he's giving me gifts. You would like to classify these trips as gifts, but I've always paid my fair share on these trips, so I did not look at them as gifts. I don't think that what this is disclosing, and they can tell me if they mean something different, I don't think it means that if you go to dinner with somebody over the course of a year and it gets to 100, you're supposed to report it. If my understanding of that is wrong, I've probably been to lunches with a couple of people that over the course of a year, I paid.
Prohibited source means.
We already went over this, Mr. Gillen. Mr. McDougal.
Well, Your Honor, I have to lay the foundation here before I can follow up with my next question.
I don't know why you have to.
Well,
It's already,
okay,
questions have been made.
Then your 2022 disclosure form did not list any of the thousands and thousands of dollars that Mr. Wade paid for on trips that you were on.
Objection.
Isn't that
Asked
correct?
and answered cumulative.
That's because Mr. Wade was paid that money back, or he was paid due to the fact that I bought the plane ticket or I paid for the hotel. There were never money that he gave me. That wasn't the nature of our relationship. You know, there's so many men, and Mr. Wade is one of them, where the nature of the relationship is they're just paying a woman. The nature of our relationship is companionship and friendship. Despite the way people would like to paint certain women, it's just not true.
Final question. And not a single solitary documentary piece of evidence
Asked and answered, Your
showing
Honor.
that you have withdrawn the cash to pay
Asked and
back.
answered, cumulative.
Thank you, Mr. Gillen.
That's not accurate.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. McCullough, on behalf of Mr. Floyd. All right, and Mr. Cromwell on behalf of Ms. Latham.
Great thing about coming last is, I had one question, Ms. Willis, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
In the time period between February of 2021 and January of 2022, while you were staying at the Yurdi condo, did your father ever come and visit you during that time period at the Yurdi condo?
He did not.
That's all I have. Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, Ms. Cross, I would imagine you have a number of topics to cover with Ms. Willis that'll take more than 10 to 15 minutes.
I do.
Okay, then I think we've reached a stopping point for today. And so, Ms. Willis, I'd ask you to step down now. And I'd also remind you that you're not to discuss your testimony or that of any other witness. Back here, and we'll begin again at 9 a.m.
9 a.m.
We'll do 9 a.m. this time tomorrow. Before we recess for today, I want to check in on logistics, and I'll ask Ms. Merchant. Once the testimony of Ms. Willis is concluded, how many other witnesses do you anticipate calling?
And then we subpoenaed Delta records, but the state objected.
We can handle that now. Ms. Willis, you can step down. You're done for the day.
All right, so it looks like they're recessing for the day. What a crazy scenario here. Let's watch Fat Roll Fani. She's knocking shit over.
I know,
Look at her.
Mr. Gillen, there was a potential witness that was objected to by the state, so there's another one there, and we can talk about that. Were there any other witnesses anticipated from any defense counsel? All right, seeing no show of hands, and then Ms. Cross, any witnesses on your behalf?
I expect so, Your Honor, and I expect that to take 4 to 5 hours.
Okay, and how many witnesses would you imagine?
Without committing myself to a final number, my best guess at this point would be 3 to 4.
Okay.
All right. I think that's it. What a wild situation that was. Shout out to everybody. Welcome in to an emergency CobraCast. That was fun. Let me see if I can make this a little more legible for the peeps. I think that's good right there. But yeah, what a wild story, man. I cannot believe that, but it's not surprising at all. This is a corrupt situation. These are corrupt people. Those that preach the loudest have the most to hide. All of these corrupt individuals that are trying to take President Trump down, they all get exposed, and everybody knows it. Everybody knows what we are witnessing right now with all of these clowns. And to watch someone like Fani Willis, who has sit up there and talked down about President Trump, who has boasted, who has bragged, who has been arrogant, and now seeing her in that situation right there, losing control. And let me tell you right now, there's some really, really funny, memes. As a matter of fact, this one's probably the best one right here. Let's see if I can right here. This is a vote rigger gets gang banged in court. Vote rigger gets gang banged in court. Fantastic meme from Machiavelli memes. That is fantastic. That is really good. That is really good. So yeah, I definitely like that one. That was funny. Oh my gosh. The memes are going to continue. It's going to be glorious. Ric Flair in the house says Fani gonna ride Space Mountain later. Woo! Yeah, man. So again, wait, are they still talking? Let's see if do we still have stuff going on here. Let's see what's going on here.
The trips today in detail. Is there anything else that's in these records that you're saying is going to prove some additional trip, or is it just further corroborating what really is kind of uncontested at this point?
There may be some additional trips.
But you don't know of any specifically. You
No,
just
I
think
have
there
not
might be
documents back.
Okay. All right. Well, then let's continue with that. Then, if you want to send them or instruct Delta to send them to us in chambers, we'll take a look. And I think essentially, if there's, you can tell us, Ms. Merchant, what you think we should be looking for and what you think is relevant, and we'll do that.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. And then when it comes to Mr. Schaefer's witness, there was an issue raised about this kind of being a summary versus an expert witness. And so I reviewed the motions, and I think there was the essentially kind of the summary document that Mr. Gillen's witness would, the sole purpose of this witness introduce. Was there something about, I don't know whether it's from Mr. Body or Ms. Cross, was there something about this attachment substantively that you think is inaccurate, or is it literally just a summary document?
I can't tell because the documents to support it were on a thumb drive, and there's tens of thousands of those documents. And so I don't know whether that is accurate or not. I can point to some characterizations on it that I would quibble with.
Sure.
I think the result is wrong, but I just can't agree to include the documents or someone testifying from the documents that I just can't verify. It may well be that there isn't anything ultimately, but I can't represent that, and I can't agree. The document itself isn't authored or identified as being authored by any particular person.
Okay, give me a second while I pull it back up.
Thank you.
So what I was provided by Mr. Gillen is a 3-page document. It starts with a timeline, usually dates, events, and sources. And it ends with an Excel sheet with some more figures. And Mr. Gillen, what do you have to say on this?
Well, we would tend to call Bill Sawinski as a summary witness, not expert, not giving expert testimony. And what we've done is that we have, and we got the bulk of sort of what was in the download we got last week as a chamber team. So what we have here is the source information over here. If we look at that, Your Honor, that's largely, well, all of this information essentially is material that is material of Mr. Wade's. This isn't something that's some a different company or bank account. And largely what it is a situation where, and as it now stands, most of these source documents are already in evidence. And so, whether it's 1006 or frankly a demonstrative aid under 611.
I really don't care what all they're blabbing about now. So we do have, there are some comments from President Trump that I believe were earlier today that I want to listen to really quickly. So we've got these got comments right here from President Trump. So I believe this was today in New York. So let's listen in really quickly.
It's October. The last news conference is November. Yeah, you're right about that. I apologize. I'm going to go downtown to former President Trump.
So thank you very much. Everything that I've heard and read, even from legal scholars, said there's absolutely no case here. It's not a crime. This is not a crime. And when you look at what's going on outside of the streets, where violent crime is at an all-time high, I think it's it's a great double standard. The other thing, this case could have been brought 3 years ago. There is no case. They decided not to bring it. The District Attorney Bragg didn't want to bring it. He said he doesn't want to bring this case. But it's not a crime. We're here for something that is not a crime. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. What it is election interference. It's being run by Joe Biden's White House. His top person was placed here in order to make sure everything goes right. This is a terrible time for our country. This is a real dark period for our country. His top person, Colangelo and some others, have been placed into the DA's office to make sure they do a good job of election interference. There's never been anything like this in the history of our country. With all of this being said, I look outside, I look at the streets. It's so different from when I left New York. It's so different. It's dirty and it's crime-ridden. And today you walk down the street, you get mugged or you get shot. And they're doing this where literally legal experts, legal scholars said they don't understand it. There's no crime. And there was no crime here at all. This is just a way of hurting me in the election because I'm leading by a lot. We're leading by numbers that nobody's ever seen before. And they figured this is their way of cheating this time. Last time they had a different way. This time they have something that's really down and dirty that frankly, no country does other than a third world country, a banana republic. So we're going to do our process. They want to rush it because they want to get it desperately before the election. And if it goes before the election, that's what they want to do. They don't care after the election. They wouldn't have brought this except for the fact, no way, except for the fact I'm running for president and doing well. If I were doing poorly, they wouldn't have brought it. And frankly, if I didn't run, they would have been extremely happy because they don't like me running and they don't like the numbers. The poll numbers have us beating him by a lot. So that's where we are. I'll talk to you later after. We don't know what's going to happen. We want delays. Obviously, I'm running for election. How can you run for election and be sitting in a courthouse in Manhattan all day long? I'm supposed to be in South Carolina right now where other people are and where, again, this is where I should be. I shouldn't be in a courthouse for something that virtually every legal scholar says they don't understand it. There's no crime. Even if he was guilty of something, there's no crime.
You gotta admit this right here, this setting where literally everybody has stopped. Every single person has stopped and they are listening because this man commands every room that he walks in. Every single person has stopped and is showing the utmost respect for President Donald J. Trump.
So I will say that enjoy it. It's a sad thing. It's a sad day for New York. They really do. Look, I love the city and I love the state. They have to focus on violent crime that's taking place outside. You have a new form of crime now. You have migrant crime. Migrants are trying to beat up our police officers. They're trying to do things that we've never seen before, actually. We are going to have a problem with, I call it Biden migrant crime, because you have millions of people came into this place, this country that has been so badly hurt, and they're doing things that nobody's ever seen before. So you have violent migrant crime, and they're after me for doing nothing wrong. You know, I paid almost $300 million in taxes over the period of time. $300 million. And they say, oh, let's get Trump out. You have people that everything is politics in this city, including decisions and judges and everything else. It has to straighten out, and they have to focus on violent crime, not made up crime. Thank you very much. We'll see you later.
Mr. President, can you expand on your NATO comments?
So there was the opening comment there as he heads into court. Jonathan Turley.
What a Chad. What an absolute Chad Trump is. Man, it's amazing what's going on. It's amazing what we're witnessing, because I don't know the full details. I know he was trying to be in the courtroom today with the Fani Willis situation, but for whatever reason, he probably had to be in New York and he couldn't make it. But yeah, this is just a absolute clown show beyond belief. It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing to see our country going through this. But you know, it is what it is. Trump's going to continue to power through and handle whatever they can bring his way. Gremlins for 20 says, I've been watching the shit show since since I guess one. My God, if they don't go to jail or at least get disbarred, this country is done. Absolutely. Linko Kanoe for 10 says, hey, Jeremy, I just started listening to this video. I put it from the beginning so I can listen to the whole video when I get home. I'm going to make my own discussion on this topic. You should. It's an important topic. Very much so. Before movies suck for 10 says, as soon as this case began and the mug was dropped, I said that Big Fanny's entire life legacy would age like fine cottage cheese. I may have actually been too kind. I heard that, dude. She's getting exposed big time. For the Emperor says, was watching on Good Logic. Fani is being allowed to run wild on the judge. The judge seems biased and scared of Fani. 100%. Wedge Sarah for 20 says they saw how many people rolled over for the Wuhan. They think they can get away with steamrolling Trump. They are going to be catastrophically wrong. Yes, they are. All the momentum is on Trump's side right now. All the momentum. Rob says, you're a liar. OMG, you still super chatted. 50 Shades of Grayson for the 99 cent. Thank you. Ryan Guy says, she always sounds that bad, Jeremy. The Under Armour Gaber says, Fani gave him the D for payment. Let's see. UP Shoot says, Trump curse strikes again. Mwahaha. Hashtag MAGA King. Blabs the Tower Tart says, play the video of Fani falling again. Damn. Oh yeah, I have an exclusive video. This is an exclusive video here at CobraCast that we have obtained. It's just a quick reenactment of Fani Willis and basically her life and everything. A 3-second kind of recap of Fani Willis. Here we go. This is real video, confirmed. Confirmed. Damn. One more time for the people in the back. Damn. Fani Willis having a tough day. Fani Willis having a tough day. MK Solid says she's acting like she got caught stealing at Target. Laszlo, the instigator, says Fani didn't do nothing. Trump 2024. Blast Radio says Fani was trying her best to emulate her hero. Heels up, Harris. 10 Head says she's not even answering goddamn questions. Golden Nugget says next she'll be telling us her dog got stung by a bee. Gremlin says a lot of chicks in Benny's chat was saying her dress is backwards. Is that true, ladies? Greg Kirby says Fani dress looks inside out too, bro. Sarah says, I definitely know she's wearing a shitty bra. Zinny Biscuit, I've made many dresses. Most have a zipper on the back, but some zip up front. I do believe she has it on backwards, loose at the neckline. Tin Head says, what the fuck is the judge doing? Let her answer. T-Dog says, bro, you need to check out Adam Ray, a comic playing Dr. Phil, playing a comic. One of the best acts in the last few years. Keep up the good work, lad. Thank you. I appreciate that. MK Solid says, get my ass some coconut oil. Damn. Greg Kirby says, Deadpool, Wade stayed with her at Congo. Golden Nugget says, maybe the dress is backwards so she can play the special needs card. Yay. Fantastic Knox says, Mr. Wade definitely clapped Fani's Fani, despite her saying otherwise. Gray Ghost says, Miss Willis, did Mr. Wade smack that ass? Or did he caress it and hold it? Dilbo Teabag and says, ha ha ha, points for Wade. Yeah, I mean, she made I'm starting to like this this Wade guy more when he said that he just thinks women should be making sandwiches. We're like, well, you didn't have, I mean, I was already a fan, but now you're making me a super fan. Dilbo Teabaggin says, I'll be Big Fanny's daddy. The Squid says, I'm a strong, independent black woman who don't need no man. Fani Willis probably. Oh, she said it. She said it. Manda Panda says, this is a result of feminism. Gold Nugget says, I apologize if I say Fani is a ho, ho, ho. I meant to say she's a filthy skank. Thank you. Darth Gavel says, I'm going to pull up this measuring tape. Stop me when we get to him. Prayer says, definitely a dirty bird. Grey Ghost says, I don't drink wine. I drink Grey Goose. Grey Goose got me loose. Golden Nugget says, sorry, dude. I think I'm getting too mad at this lady. Gonna try and be less SJW about the fool. No, I totally understand. Prayer says, Jeremy, you have to stick it in Fani or Kamala. Otherwise, aliens wipe out the world. Who's getting your blackness? We are all going to die. Keck Lord says, you guys are going to play Helldivers 2 anytime. I want to try it out. So I am, I'm going to, as soon as this stream ends, it'll raid my, I'm going to do a gaming stream later tonight on D-Day Cobra 199. So this will raid everybody over there. So I'm not sure who's joining me yet. Lord Botha says, I have more respect for this prosecutor guy knowing he told her to make him a sandwich. Absolutely. Durag Vince says, it was me. I met Fani in DC. Let's see. Tony says, too much cash, too little tracing, intentional. Super Sentai guy says, she'll get off and be allowed to continue. Shaking my head. Absolutely. Brer says, Jeremy, who's getting it? Either Fani or Kamala. If you don't give it to one of them, if you don't give one of them your blackness, Trump loses 2024. Oh. Dude, don't do that to me. Don't do that to me. Don't do that to me. Oh my God, that's insane. This is impossible, dude. Bro, like I'm gonna have to say Kamala. Super Sentai guy, I hate every fucking one of you. That was a $5 super chat. It could have been $100. I had to go through that pain for a $5 super chat. I had to go for a $5 super chat. Super Sentai guy says the fix is in. Hail to 199. Effing book says, please don't twerk on the bench, Fani. Southeastern Kaiju says, do these lawyers do any prep work? Effing book says, oh snap, she uses Cash App. What about crypto? Effing book says, you use Cash App to buy a dog and wiener. Real Housewives of DC and shit. Big Mike says, sounds like the judge is running defense for her. Effing book says, judge got jungle fever. Judge is wondering if Fani finna swirl. Effing book says, judge wants some brown sugar. Fantastic Mr. Knox says, stop Aussie hate. Kratos says, can you get Legal Mindset on to break down what the judge's ruling are about it and legal process is going so we have more clarity? I could hit him up. I mean, obviously we've had him on Geeks and Gamers a lot. Andrew's awesome. So yeah, I can hit him up. Babo Yogi says, Knox, Aussies are fairy tale creatures, can't hate. Big Mike says, don't say migrant Trump. They are illegal aliens. Ronan, the Crusader, says, got my Geeks and Gamers 199 backpack and I love it. Compact, yet roomy enough for plenty of things. Definitely repping it for any and every meetup. Thanks, Jeremy. I am so happy that you guys are loving the 199 backpacks. Again, they are available for about another week and a half. I saw somebody dropping links in the chat just a minute ago. So again, you got a week and a half to get your 199 backpacks, and then they are done. Effing book says Fani plus Kamala equals white boy soul train. I'm sick to my stomach. Briar for 20 says, I respect that you'd F Kamala for Trump. God, I feel dirty. I feel dirty even having to agree to that. Vol 95 says, could you imagine the working class person taking back like that to court? Oh, absolutely. That is ridiculous, man. Mod Eric says, I need that cask, American cask. The blind lawyer says, Wade had to get paid hazard pay. Daz Pants Game says, loving the 199 and the gifty. Thank you. Dragon Dan says, Black Girl Magic. Eric Guidewall with 5 D-Day Cobra memberships. Lord Plagueis with 1. Hangry is Angry. She went to Kamala Harris School of Public Speaking. Babo Yogi. Jeremy President Potato Head is coming to my town tomorrow. It's going to be a shit show. If I can, I'll post a few vids if I get anything good. Sun and Shadow says, this chat is killing me. I love it. Daniel says, DA in Atlanta, Georgia hasn't eaten a $100 meal in a restaurant. That one guy says, judge harshly letting them ask her questions. Cole Hauser says, this is why I don't date black chicks. The blind lawyer says, the wall hit Fani hard. That 50 hurt, huh? Bet she divorced her ex too, LOL. And that is it, ladies and gentlemen. So this was an emergency CobraCast. I know that they're supposed to go live again tomorrow. I'll try to see if I can go live. Yeah, we got almost 300 watching on Rumble still. We've had over 2,000, almost 2,300 here on YouTube. So thank you so much. Cellular Dream says, Jeremy, touch my Fanny. Fantastic vs. Knox says, Fanny wouldn't survive Australia anyway. Lots of dangerous animals and insects. Heck, Aussies lost to emus in the emu war. Yeah, man, I've heard Australia's not a real place. So, but I guess I'll try to go live tomorrow morning to cover all of this. I would like to, because bro, that meltdown was wild. What did they say? 9 a.m. That would be 9 a.m. Eastern, I believe. So I will see if I can make arrangements to go live tomorrow morning to cover this as well here on CobraCast 199 for an emergency CobraCast in the morning. Blind Lawyer says, you also have another attorney that is often in the chat. LOL. Shout out Blind Lawyer. Okay. Yep. 9 a.m. Is it EST? I think it's EST. Backpack link is being dropped constantly by the mod. So thank you. Again, this stream, when I end this stream, it's going to raid my D-Day Cobra 199 stream that we're doing later tonight. So you guys can continue the chat over there if you want. Hang out. Make sure that you put the reminder on. We're going live tonight. I don't know who all is going to be with me, but we will play some video games tonight and have some fun. I haven't been playing a lot of Fortnite lately, but I'm doing it. So we'll see. All right. Yes, Eastern. Okay. It's 9 a.m. Eastern. Okay. So thank you all. I appreciate it. I hope you guys enjoyed this stream. Have a great day. Trump 2024. Fani going down. She is in trouble. In all of these cases, all of this nonsense against Trump, they're all going to be screwed. So, yeah. So let's see. Jeremy trying to make me work way before my usual hours. All right, guys. I'll see you over on the D-Day Cover 199 chat. Love you all. Have a great day. Trump 2024. And we will talk to all of you later. Bye, everyone.